Okay, so good morning again, everyone. Thank you for your patience. We were just giving our attendees a few minutes to join. So welcome to today's cybersecurity webinar on the topic Beyond the Perimeter. My name is Sandra Jones, and I'm your moderator for today's session. So before we get started, I'd just like to take 2 minutes to just tidy up some housekeeping. So this session is being recorded. It will last for approximately 1 hour, which includes your questions. We are asking that you submit your questions throughout the presentation by using the questions tab in GoToWebinar. We will get to your questions at the end of the webinar. If we do not get to your questions during today's webinar, we'll be sure to reach out to you after to address your specific questions. You will have access to the slides and a recording of this presentation after we conclude today's webinar. So why are we here today? We're here today because, like you, we know that a lot of our customers, our partners, and all of us have seen an influx of associated malware and phishing scams as a result of COVID-19. And today, in our joint webinar with Checkpoint, we're going to explore some of the malicious activity that we've observed over the last few weeks to help you to maintain a good security posture during these unprecedented times. So joining me today are our main speakers. We have Daniel Lemos, who is Head of Threat Prevention for Checkpoint Latin America, and Andrew Dixon, our VP of Enterprise and Cybersecurity for Fujitsu Caribbean. So without much further ado, I'll now hand over to Daniel. Daniel, over to you.
Thanks, Sandy, and thanks everyone. Thanks Fujitsu as well for organizing the session. Thanks everyone for actually joining the call. I hope it's productive for you. I have really good stats that we able to detect it during these times. So let's just move on. Before I start, let me just introduce again, and then Sandy already mentioned. So my name is Daniel Lemos. I'm responsible for all solutions of threat prevention that Checkpoint has to offer for Latin America. Work with a team of 6 guys covering all LATAM plus the Caribbean, helping supporting customers and offering solutions that protect them against advanced threats, against phishing, against malicious attacks, and we're also responsible for research within Checkpoint and to provide information to our local customers in the region. So, all right, so before we start, I just want to touch base with the agenda. I apologize, I think I clicked too much, a little bit of anxiety. So this is the agenda. This is what we're going to talk about. As Sandy mentioned, the main focus of my presentation is to show the implication of COVID-19 to business and to remote users. Based on what we've seen, a large number of companies have started a new regime of telework. And then with that, we've seen that circumstances has increasingly the attack surface, representing a great challenge for companies when it comes to cybersecurity, as they need to establish new protocols and follow a series of measures to ensure that their business, employees, and remote users are working properly. So with those circumstances, we've seen as well an increase of the attack surface, which is not only the cyber risk that has emerged in the past few months, but cyber criminals are taking advantage of this global uncertainty to carry all kinds of attacks, like phishing campaigns, spreading malware, and then with that, endangering many companies' cybersecurity. So the purpose of the presentation is to have a question, right? To introduce a topic. Does fear and uncertainty make us more hackable? So this is the goal of the presentation in a couple of slides in the next 20 minutes that I have with you guys. So when you look at cyber trends and attacks, the first thing that we're going to talk about it, I'm going to show a couple of graphs and infos that came from our intelligence team in the US and in Israel. Those intelligence came from third-party investigations, from our own investigations, and also from our customers. Every firewall and endpoint in any device that we deploy protection for our customers are collected as sensors. So we're taking that information of attacks like IOCs or hashes, malware information, phishing campaigns. We're collecting that information, and then we're going to present this based on the current threats. So as you can see in the graph, when we first publicized the case of coronavirus in the States, which occurred last January 2020, almost 1 million, our research team saw that a different spread has also begun. Hackers started leveraging this global panic and fear, started spreading new kinds of malware and malicious cyber threats. COVID-19 is being used in a variety of malicious campaigns, which includes email spam, business email compromise, malware, ransomware, and all kinds of malicious domains. Those attacks continue to inflict thousands of users, and then those campaigns we've seen that they continue to use. And this kind of attack, the main purpose is to track users into malicious activities or into account takeovers or other types of attacks. So as mentioned, the current outbreak of COVID-19 created the perfect scenario for all sorts of scammers when they try to monetize through fear, false promises, fraud. We have seen tens of thousands of new domains have been registered with the use of terms like Corona, COVID, epidemic, pandemic, Wuhan. According with our threat intelligence, there have been over 4,000 coronavirus-related domains registered globally. Out of these websites, we have seen that 3% of those sites are malicious, and an additional 5% are suspicious. Corona-related domains are 50% to be likely to be malicious than any other domain in this period. We analyzed those domains. So as you can see, there's a huge spike in March. We analyzed them based on their DNS records. We also reported from campaigns from customers and using our products for detecting and preventing against those campaigns. So we take that research and then we create these drafts. We found that many of those domains are registered to be sold for a profit. We've seen some of those domains are used for malicious activities. For example, attackers are setting up shops indicated that they want to sell some items that are short supplies like masks or plastic gloves and things like that. Interestingly enough, we see many of those web shops registered trying to scam users. We also detect a lot of those domains are trying to capitalize on users' fears of coronavirus into buying into those products and then putting their credit cards, and automatically those get stolen. More often, we're seeing that a group of those coronavirus themed domains are used as static pages with high malicious files or scripts like JavaScript that anytime can redirect users to a malicious contact in the web. So this is a threat intelligence that I pulled this week. This is incorporated the Caribbean. So as comparison to other regions in the globe, Caribbean has higher attacks, right? Especially in mobile and bots. The highest target country in the region was Jamaica in this times. But we also seen a great amount of attacks using remote code execution, which means that attackers are remoting into customers' computers or attacking remote computers, and then stealing information or creating botnets or creating new types of attacks like crypto lockers or crypto mining as well. So, and all this research, as Checkpoint customers, those are free to access. We are willing to provide this kind of stats to any customers that are willing to see more stats within the region or specific for their companies. So now I'm going to touch base on a specific campaign. I recommend anyone on the call to also check it out, the complete research. It was an amazing job by our research team in Israel. Very high details, very technical. I'm just going to briefly mention, I think it's important, the times that we've seen a lot of users getting attacked. This specific attack was targeted to a government, to the Mongolian government and the public sector in Mongolia. This malware campaign was dubbed as Vicious Panda, and it uses COVID-19 team to infect its victims. So the malicious Panda was used as a document that was sent by an email phishing. Those documents were sent to the Mongolian Ministry of Foreign Affairs. This type of document had an RTF attachment. Within that attachment, it had a weaponizer tool, which is an exploit that was used to create malicious documents, and then that contained an embedded object that exploited a flaw in Microsoft Word. So this was a very high target. As you can see, it utilized 3 CVEs, so it utilized 3 exploits within the document. We analyzed it on our research and discovered that several samples introduced a large part of an infrastructure that was used by those threat actors. And the common advanced threat malwares. All those command controls are hosted by servers, and those domains are registered via the GoDaddy register, so very hard to track them. We're seeing here that we're dealing with a remote access tool type of Trojan that provide access to a remote access to attackers. Those attackers were able to take screenshots from users' computers, also access files stored on the system and download files, which means it gives them completely access to control users' computers over an infected system. So the question is, who's behind this attack? So as I mentioned, this started as a phishing attack, right? So as a very common type of attack as we've seen in the field. This campaign, we see that this is a long-running Chinese-based operation, which targets governments and organizations worldwide. This specific campaign leveraged the COVID-19 pandemic to trick victims and then to trigger this infection chain. The attackers updated this tool set from documents using macros, so very similar attacks that we've seen in the field with many customers, and exploited old exploits and variation of a specific tool which is called Royal Blood, and that we've seen in the wild as well. The full intention we still don't know. It's still a mystery. Was this Chinese APT group once? But it's clear that they're here to stay. We've seen versions of these updated tools. And the main objective is to continue to trick users and to steal more information from other governments and customers as well. So I'm going to briefly talk about phishing campaigns. When we think about phishing, or we think it's specific about emails, we've seen in the case of COVID-19 that hackers are using video conference messages like Zoom and Microsoft Teams. So I'm going to just go back. So we've seen that attackers are spoofing video conference messages to steal Office 365 credentials and as part of ransomware campaigns. In this case, the victim receives emails from an email address that spoofs the official Zoom or Microsoft Teams email address. It mimics a notification from the remote meeting platform, and then it claims that the recipient will be unable to use the service unless they use a link to provide email to activate the account again. Within the email, it contains a link with a text that redirects to a page posted to an unrelated domain, likely hijacked by the attackers. The link, in this specific case, redirects to a fake Microsoft login posted on another domain. using this email to impersonate Microsoft Teams or Zoom brand. The attacker here specifically is targeting the recipient Microsoft credentials. What we call the attack is an account takeover attack. So the main objective here is to steal the account and then use that for malicious purpose. We also seen attacks targeting Netflix. As you probably know, with this pandemic, a lot of people have registered in Netflix, and there's a lot of target. There's a lot of people that have Netflix accounts, which means it's a target for attackers as well. Usually, within this attack, they use a phony email, which is sent out to the users. Usually has some punctuation errors or some typographical errors, but it's very common that the scams are very similar to the original emails from Netflix, and the objective is still the same, right? To trick users into providing sensitive information, right? As you can see in this attack, it has a really strong semblance to the real Netflix page. It can be convincing to a lot of subscribers. I know for a fact we've seen users, very knowledgeable users within security, fall for this type of attacks. The main objective here for attackers, they're trying to steal login credentials like username and password. They trick users to update their personal information, and then with that they steal the name, the date of birth, address, telephone numbers. And the ultimate goal, right? Once users are tricked into update billing information, attackers here are stealing credit card information like number and details. Another type of attack that we've seen is the stimulus relief package payment. So the government has released relief pack in the United States. So the IRS has warned taxpayers to be on warning of scammers and to look for this type of attacks or this type of emails. Use words like stimulus check or stimulus payment. Use different web address. Use different links to trick users to sign up into their accounts, right, to get access to the payment check. Also, we've seen the old phishing attacks, which is use of phone calls, the phreaking attacks that contact users by phone, by email, text, and social media. And attackers, what they want is to verify the personal and banking information, and then with that, to steal information from users. And then the famous phishing attacks, right? Very direct phishing attacks. This specific case here that we're seeing, this is target Italian organizations, exploit concerns about infections in the country. When you click on enabling the edit or enable contact, the email is infected with such malicious files. Users are led to download a specific file, but then at the end, the file is it's a very famous Trojan downloader, which is called the OSAP Trojan. And then they'll get downloaded, tricked to download, and then they'll get their information encrypted, and then they'll get a ransom using a Bitcoin's wallet. So who is the weakest link? Right, it's the user, as we've seen in many cases. Right, users are tricked. For example, in the cases that I show, or this specific case that we took from a customer, to download something from HR. Once they click on the file, it gets a notification to verify the account, and then with that, they download malicious content. So we can use all kinds of advanced tools, but if you don't educate the users and then provide specific tools to protect email address, that usually they'll fall for this type of attacks. They're very direct, very creative, right? You can see in this case, this user was tricked to download a resume. The password came within the email, And then when they download, it asks to verify the account, and then they stole the information. So how's Checkpoint can protect users from the attacks that I showed and all the malware trends during the COVID-19? We have a solution that we call Beyond the Perimeter, which is protects laptops, protects phones, and protect cloud applications. So we're very hooked into cloud applications, into Office 365, to G Suite, to Box. We also protect phones by installing an application within the phones, and that protects against phishing attacks, malwares. And we have an endpoint that protects against advanced attacks, and then prevents against phishing as well. And as I mentioned, a part of our research, and as a Checkpoint customer, every customer has access to our Track Cloud, which is our cloud of intelligence. So we're taking intelligence data from gateways and endpoints all over the world. We also have a very powerful research team that always launches interesting findings in the wild. Right? We also discovering a lot of files like known malware, and especially unknown malwares. So we're stopping and giving research to 7,000 zero-day attacks per day. And our Track Cloud get feeds from 86 billion IOCs. So we have integration with other companies. We have integration with third-party vendors as well. So our research is always feeding that intelligence into our Track Cloud. And then with that, we're able to provide very accurate data and very accurate prevention for our customers. So in summary, before I talk about our cybersecurity trends, so the trends consider to increase. We see more fear apply and more creative attacks. So we have to protect the users, protect our endpoints, protect the data, right? So you can achieve that by using Checkpoint solutions like our SandBlast Agent for the endpoint, our SandBlast Mobile for mobile phones, and our CloudGuard SaaS, which protects SaaS applications like Outlook, Office 365, Box, G Suite, and any other SaaS applications that we found, right? Thanks, everyone. I pass now the control back to Sandy, and Andrew gonna present. Thanks, Fujitsu, for the time, and thanks everyone on the call. Appreciate it.
Hi, thanks, Daniel. So thanks, Daniel, for letting us know what Checkpoint has been observing while we're now mostly all working remote. This knowledge, along with other sources of threat intelligence, form the core of the Fujitsu strategy for intelligence-led security. I'll now outline our Fujitsu enterprise and cybersecurity value proposition. So we have seen some bold predictions made just a few short months ago, saying in 2020, we will have 20 billion devices to protect, and mostly because IoT devices are becoming a staple in our digital lives. Fast forward to our new COVID reality, we are seeing a huge contribution to that number from the new endpoints required to support everyone now working and studying remotely. I'm sure you can agree we have transformed, whether or not we plan to, and we're feeling firsthand the disruption that comes along with digital transformation. In addition to the digital transformation disruption to our industries and businesses, we now see and just heard from Checkpoint the increase of cyber threats because rapid adoption of new technologies like IoT, hybrid IT, multi-cloud increases the attack surface. In response to this challenge, Fujitsu has adopted an intelligence-led approach for security. We believe robust management of the cybersecurity platform is critically important but it's not enough. You need to have a comprehensive visibility of events from all systems which you analyze to identify threats. You need to routinely scan your systems to identify vulnerabilities as early as possible. You need to gain external intelligence to develop a perspective on the external threat context and hence guide your threat assessment and planning. And you need to always know what your current security posture is. We achieve this with a multi-layered approach to security. We start with 4 outcomes that you, our customers, have told us matters the most. Visibility. You need us to provide visibility of what's going on and to put it into context. Rigor. You then demand that the service is being provided with rigor and that intelligence is being applied when assessing the findings and setting actions. Vision. You then expect us to know what is coming and have vision and to then make improvements to the way we work. And advice, you look to us to provide you with advice on best practice and to stimulate innovation to help you drive your own business. We deliver a suite of managed services from our Security Operations Center to help operate our customers better. We enhance this with our advanced threat services such as threat analytics, where we collate and analyze events from multiple systems, vulnerability management, where we probe assets and their configurations to identify weakness, and threat intelligence, where we track external feeds to give early indications of our customers becoming potential threats. We then have our threat response, where we help our customers plan how to react effectively in the event of a breach or potential breach. It is ultimately how an organization reacts and remediates that determines whether their reputation is kept intact and how they are judged to have responded correctly. Our consulting services come in 3 forms: strategic, to help customers attain or quantify the gap to things like PCI, ISO, and GDPR standards, as well as helping define their cybersecurity strategy. Technical, to deploy, update, and enhance customers' own cyber platforms, and consulting services for specific cyber engagements. And then we wrap this all up with information security management to guide you, our customers, on best practice, drive continuous improvement, and ensure your cybersecurity posture is understood and actively reviewed. So what makes us different? For one, we cover the entire IT lifecycle. We believe in forming strong customer partnerships. We have a strong portfolio made up of best-of-breed solutions from Tier 1 partners such as Checkpoint, and we've been doing it for over 40 years. What are the services that we offer? Next, can I get the next slide, please? What are the services that we offer? We offer comprehensive protection across the enterprise, including identity and access management, infrastructure protection, data protection, threat and vulnerability management, where our managed services identify potential risks mitigate any immediate impact, and prevent subsequent attacks from happening. Next. These managed security services made up of core and optional components enables our own computer security incident response team framework. They align to the phases of the cyber kill chain and allows our identify, detect and hunt, and respond teams to work cohesively out of our security operations center to deliver the best value in cyber threat intelligence. Next. Today, we own 8 security operations centers strategically located to address any concerns of data sovereignty, as well as to provide options for disaster recovery locations. Note one of our security operations centers are right here in the Caribbean, located in Trinidad. Next. We understand everyone may be at different stages in their digital transformation journey, and therefore we are ready to provide you with consultancy services to help evaluate your posture and recommend solutions in the domain of strategy and architecture, continuity and resilience, transformation and integration, and governance, risk, and compliance. Having done our consultancy and identify the solution required, our team stands ready to provide you with our technical professional services for that domain. Fujitsu has invested significantly in our resources to ensure that they are trained and certified to design, implement, and support solutions from our strategic Tier 1 partners. One of which is Checkpoint, who Fujitsu has a long history of partnership going over a decade and spans verticals such as financial services, public sector, utilities, and manufacturing. Several of our offerings are built with Checkpoint solutions, and our engineers are regularly trained and maintain certifications across the Checkpoint offerings. Thank you. And I will hand over to Sandy for any questions.
Okay, so thank you both, Daniel and Andrew. So we've now come to the end of our presentation and we'll take your questions at this time. So at this time, we don't have any questions, but we are still expecting to hear from you. So as Daniel said earlier in his presentation, we've all seen the global spread of COVID-19 and its impact on business models and working practices. And this has presented both unscrupulous cyber criminals and state actors with a new and topical trend to leverage to increase the probability of successfully exploiting targets through fear and misinformation. Thousands of new potentially suspicious domains are created daily, and there has been a large shift towards phishing campaigns exploiting your thirst for information related to the pandemic. So you have to be very alert in terms of monitoring and ensuring that your security is not compromised. It is very vital to stay up to date with the very latest threats because these are potentially and can likely impact your business, your customers, and your employees. As Andrew also said, many organizations have quickly had to switch to home working practices, and it is likely that we now have a larger proliferation of personal computers, mobile devices that are also being used to complete business tasks. And these devices may not have the same levels of security that corporately managed devices will have, and this actually opens up a new attack surface for cyber criminals. So as they both said throughout, it is very, very important that you remain very vigilant and stay abreast of what's happening, monitor your security. This is not the time to compromise. We're still waiting to see if we have any questions, and we give it another minute or two. So still no questions, but I'll just use the opportunity to just do a quick recap. So in terms of the key trends that we've observed from both Checkpoint and Fujitsu's ATCs, we talk about, we're seeing a lot of phishing scams. We're seeing fraudulent free services, scam services are like to try and obtain things like your bank details, personal information, and can even harbor malware. So we also see an increased domain name registration of suspicious coronavirus websites offering information that is not, it's actors exploiting COVID-19 and taking advantage of the momentum around it. Business email compromise scams with like gift cards, and a number of tactics to match the current situation. So it's a lot. It's a lot that's going on. There's also increasing fraudulent activity related to tourism and travel, with holidays and flights continuing to be canceled. Even though as economies reopen, we have some travel that is now occurring, but this is also an area that is being exploited. And they also have malicious COVID-19 communications that occur as unsolicited emails. So it's a lot, and we have to be very vigilant, again, as we've pointed out throughout this webinar. So at this time, we do not have any questions, and so we wish to thank you for your time, especially for those that are participating in our webinar series. We see you, we acknowledge you, and we're grateful, and we look forward to hosting you again. Our next upcoming webinar will be on Thursday, and it will be on business intelligence, leveraging the power of Microsoft Power BI. So once again, we thank you for your time, appreciate you, and we look forward to connecting again. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Andrew, for your very informative and insightful presentations. Have a good rest of the day, and we look forward to connecting again very soon.